Dear devotees, Danvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Ati Mataji, Pawan Prabhuji, Vishwanath Prabhu for the chanting. We'll continue with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody would like to sing prayer today?
Hare Krishna, I can sing.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Waiting for the screen. Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. Hari Hari bolite nayane bahe nira. Are kabanitai chandra karuna hoibe. संसार वासना मोरा कबे तुझ हवे विषया छाड़िया कबे शुद्ध हबे मना कबे हम हिरिबो श्री वृंदावना रूप रघुनाथ पदे होइबे अकुति कबे हम बुझाबो से जुगल प्रीति रूप रघुनाथ पदे रहो मोराश प्रार्थना कोरिए सदा नरोत्तम दास रूप रघुनाथ पदे रहो मोराश प्रार्थना कोरिए सदा नरोत्तम दास हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. You can read the translation also.
Sure. When will that opportunate moment come to us when there will be shivering of the body as soon as we chant Lord Gauranga's name? While chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears in the eyes? When will I obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda Chandra? When, by his mercy, will the desire for material enjoyment become very insignificant? When the mind is completely purified, being freed from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, and then my spiritual life will be successful. When shall I be very much eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami? By their instruction, I shall be able to properly understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. My only aspiration is to attain the lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Narottam Das constantly prays to attain their lotus feet. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yes. So one very important instruction here is we see when we read these translations, we realize the deeper meaning. Yesterday when we were reading Prabhupada's purports, we say it's the 6 Goswamis. If somebody just reads this prayer, it just says Rupa Raghunath Pade. So, we will be thinking, or they will just think, oh, it's just Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, right? But actually the deeper meanings is given by the Acharyas. So that is why when we read scriptures by ourselves, we may not understand the deeper meaning. When the self-realized soul, pure devotees, when they share their internal realizations with us, then things become easier and simpler to understand. Yes, that's why Prabhupada has given us all these purports referencing the predecessor acharyas' commentaries and their inner deeper from the core of their hearts what they had shared. Right? So it is all the six Goswamis, starting from Rupa Goswami all the way until Raghunath Das Goswami. So similarly, we see just like there is external, like we were reading yesterday, Prabhupada Lilamrita, there is external meaning and then there is internal meaning, right? Like Anandini Mataji was sharing yesterday, the external meaning. When you see the title, I'll build you a temple, is just feels like, yeah, I'll build you a temple. But the internal meaning was, it was Prabhupada's promise to the Lord. So that is why it's important. Sometimes externally, the acharyas may not be with us, right? For example, my Guru Maharaj is no more in this mortal planet. Srila Prabhupada is no more in this mortal planet. Externally, we don't see them, but their instructions live forever. Prabhupada used to say, I will live forever through my books. So their instructions, the Vani that they have left behind, they will live forever. So that is what we have to follow. Okay. Externally today, Vishwanath Prabhu didn't put the link in our chat. But internally, you all have been following instructions. So you all joined the call still. So Haribol, thank you. Okay, so we are reading Prabhupada Leela Amrit, chapter 41, Battle for Bombay. Yes, so Prabhupada is fighting for Bombay temple land, and we saw how the devotees, initially they are tolerant. Like Arjuna, initially he was compassionate. Out of compassion, he didn't want to fight. He was tolerant. Pandavas suffered everything that their cousin brothers made them go through with tolerance, with patience. But ultimately, when adharma rises, then Krishna himself inspires his devotees to fight. And now Prabhupada is fighting. And when devotees fight for the Lord, then we see what happens. So Mr. N had to die a tragic death because of heart attack. Again, Krishna is sitting as Paramatma in everybody's heart. He just has to switch off the button, that's it, and then you're gone, right? So Krishna doesn't have to come personally to establish religion, to establish dharma. No, that is just an external reason, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. But the internal reason is he comes to give pleasure to his devotees. That is the real reason why Krishna appears in this mortal world. So if he has to kill these demons, yeah, he just has to switch off the button in the heart, that's it, and they'll be gone, like Mr. Nair was gone. So, but yeah, Prabhupada continues to fight. And we saw how they were about to, then when after he left, his wife was about to demolish the temple. But again, Krishna is orchestrating. They were almost on the verge of demolishing the altar. And at that point, with all the orchestration that Krishna does, the magic happens and Bal Thackeray phones the municipal commissioner, and then the dismantling is stopped. So it seems very dramatic, but that is how Krishna operates. Sometimes he wants the drama, the Leela. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue from here. Anybody else would like to read today? Prabhupada was in Calcutta. All right, I'll continue then. Prabhupada was in Calcutta at the time of the attack, and when the devotees reached him by phone, he told them to organize the local ISKCON sympathizers and life members and protest the attack by mass publicity. They should also expose the persons responsible. This would be very effective against Mrs. N and her party. Prabhupada mentioned various life members he thought would help. Mr. Sada Jivatlal, the head of the Hindu Vishwa Parishad, should help with publicity since his organization was a defender of the Hindu Dharma and was meant for handling such cases as this. Mr. Sethi should help in preventing further violence. This episode, Prabhupada said, had been part of Krishna's plan. The devotees should not be afraid. The next morning, a photo of the demolished temple appeared on the front page of the Free Press Journal with the headline, Unauthorized Temple Demolished by Municipal Authorities. Devotees began counteracting the bad publicity. Mr. Sada Jivatlal turned his downtown office into an ISKCON office, and he and the devotees began the campaign. Despite the unfavorable propaganda, many Indians were shocked at the violence, and the municipal corporation unanimously condemned those officials responsible for the attack on a Hindu temple. Devotees working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Sada Jivatlal's office phoned the newspapers, wrote letters and circulars, and contacted possible sympathizers. Mr. Vinod Gupta, a member of the Jan Sangh political party, which favored maintaining India's Hindu culture, joined with Kartikeya Mahadevia and others to form a Save the Temple committee. Mr. Gupta published his own leaflet declaring ISKCON to be a bona fide Hindu organization. As Giriraj met with and elicited the support of government officials, many of Bombay's leading citizens, appreciating the authenticity of the Hare Krishna movement, began to show sympathy and offer assistance. Thus, the plan of Mrs. N and her lawyers backfired. Although they had been thinking they were dealing with only a mere handful of young foreigners, they soon found themselves facing many of Bombay's most influential citizens. Srila Prabhupada predicted that the results would be positive. A few days after the incident, he wrote, "The demolition of our temple by the municipality has strengthened our position. The municipality standing committee has condemned the hasty action of the municipality and has agreed to reconstruct the shed at their cost. Not only that, the temporary construction shall continue to stay until the court decision is there as to who is the proprietor of the land. Under the circumstances, we should immediately reconstruct the DT shed. Barbed wire fencing should be immediately done to cover the naked land. And if possible, immediately in front of the DT shed, a temporary pandal should be constructed with our materials. If it is so done, then I can go to Bombay and begin Bhagavad Parayana to continue until the court decision is there. This is my desire." Prabhupada also asked Giriraj Maharaj to give full coverage of the temple demolition in his Hare Krishna monthly journal to life members. Prabhupada himself wrote an article for the monthly describing his movement and the events leading to the attack on the temple. He condemned the Bombay municipality for having the audacity to smash our temple against the law and principle of religious faith. A clique in Bombay, he said, had conspired to drive the devotees from their land without returning their money, and he asked for sympathizers and life members of the Krishna consciousness movement to come forward and help him at this difficult hour. Only about a dozen ISKCON life members responded to Srila Prabhupada's call. There were hundreds of life members in Bombay, each of whom had donated 1,111 rupees and were receiving Prabhupada's books. But when it came to a personal commitment in a time of controversy, only a few were willing to help. Those who did help, however, were able to assist in ways that the innocent, naive, and uninfluential disciples of Prabhupada could not. The devotees began to see the entire course of events as Krishna's mercy, since many life members were now rendering valuable service to Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. In the past, Prabhupada had stayed in the homes of many life members, preaching to them and their families, convincing them of his sincerity and of the noble aims of his movement. These friends and members, like Bhagubhai Patel, Bihari Lal Khandelwala, Brij Ratan Mohatta, Dr. C. Bali, and others were acting not simply out of Hindu sentiment, but out of deep respect and affection for Srila Prabhupada. Giriraj, working with Sada Jivat Lal, tried to convince the municipal council to authorize the rebuilding of the temple structure. While doing so, however, he discovered that Mrs. N had that very day, a Friday, filed for a court injunction preventing ISKCON from rebuilding. Justice Nayan told Giriraj that he did not want to grant Mrs. N's request and that he would hear the devotee's case on the following Monday. This meant that the devotees had from Saturday morning to Monday morning 2 days to rebuild the temple. The devotees reasoned that although they had no actual permission to rebuild the temple, there was as yet no law to stop them. If Justice Nayan ruled against them, then to rebuild would be very difficult. They decided therefore to use the weekend to rebuild. Mr. Lal, a former contractor, helped arrange materials, bricks, mortar, asbestos sheets. Mr. Sethi offered a crew of laborers. At 8 p.m. on Friday, the masons began their work, continuing throughout the night despite the rain. And on Monday morning, when the judge learned of the new temple, he declared, "What is built is built. No one can destroy the temple." When Prabhupada heard the news, he considered it a complete victory. The temple had been rebuilt, and public opinion was swinging strongly in ISKCON's favor. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Feel like clapping here. Seriously. what
Hare
a
Bol.
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Hare Krishna. You can clap, you can chant loudly 3 times. Hare Bol.
Hare Bol,
Hare
Hare
Bol,
Bol,
Hare
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 Bol.
Battle of Bombay is won by Prabhupada and all his sincere disciples. So nice, how much effort they put, like here we are only reading. In a moment we read, but the 2 days would have been so difficult for them, sleepless nights in the rain, working through day and night, it's just incredible. Can't imagine what they all went through. Hare Krishna. Okay, chapter 42, Developing Mayapur. Mayapur, June 1st, 1973. Although the Mayapur building was not yet completed, Prabhupada had come there to reside. He took two adjoining rooms, one as his study and one as his bedroom, on the second floor. Meanwhile, construction work continued in the temple room and in other parts of the building. On Prabhupada's first day there, a storm struck with massive black clouds and high winds. The storm was brief, however, and damage was minimal. I have just now come to Mayapur and I'm very hopeful to regain my strength and health on account of being in this transcendental atmosphere. Every moment we are passing here in great delight. In the evening, the temple pujari, Jananivas, would come to Prabhupada's room with a clay pot of red coals and frankincense and fan the frankincense until the room was filled with smoke. This was to drive out insects, but Prabhupada also considered it purifying. Although he was sometimes disturbed by the workers hammering, he found the atmosphere otherwise peaceful. Only a few devotees were staying there, and Prabhupada gave his attention to translating or to speaking with guests and to the devotees in charge of developing his Mayapur center. He would express his desires, especially to Bhavananda Maharaj and Jayapataka Maharaj, and worked his will through them. The devotees living in the building with Prabhupada considered themselves menial servants in Prabhupada's personal house. Of course, all the buildings in ISKCON belonged to Srila Prabhupada. Yet, in Mayapur, that sense was intensified. Generally, the devotees in each particular center would raise money to support their center, but Prabhupada personally took charge of getting funds for Mayapur. He had begun a Mayapur Vrindavan Trust Fund of donations from his disciples and interest from bonds and security deposits. If money was misspent, energy misused, or the building damaged in any way, Prabhupada would become very concerned. Now that he was personally on the scene, he often walked about, giving detailed instructions and demanding that discrepancies be corrected. The pink and reddish building was like a huge transcendental ship, and Srila Prabhupada, as captain, would walk the wide verandas, giving strict orders to all the mates for keeping everything ship-shape. One day, Prabhupada was walking on the veranda near his room. The other rooms were locked, and as Prabhupada walked alone, he would open the window shutters and look in. Suddenly, he turned to Shatadhanya, who waited on call nearby. "The fan is going on inside, and this room is empty and locked," Prabhupada said. "Who has done this?" Shatadhanya didn't know. "Whoever has done this," Prabhupada said, "is a rascal. He should know he is a rascal." For 2 days after, Prabhupada continued to refer to the incident with disgust. Your devotees don't spend any energy. They don't want to waste any energy because everything is Krishna's energy. So I'm remembering our devotees at our center switching off lights, fans when it is not in use, right? Every drop of water that we save, every energy that we save at our center is all Lord's energy. So we should try to do that. Okay. One day, after a huge wind and rainstorm, water covered the 12-foot wide marble veranda outside Prabhupada's room. Bhavananda Goswami, taking a large squeegee a devotee had made, began cleaning the marble floor, and Srila Prabhupada came to his door to watch. "This is the way to clean marble," Prabhupada said. "Don't polish it with wax. Just keep plenty of fresh water and every day in the morning wipe it off. In this way, the marble will become naturally polished and will shine like glass." Prabhupada felt affection and deep gratitude for those devotees dedicating their lives to the Mayapur project. One night he called Bhavananda to his room and began asking him about the devotees. Suddenly, Prabhupada began crying. "I know it is difficult for all you Western boys and girls," he said. "You are so dedicated, serving here in my mission. I know you cannot even get prasadam. When I think that you cannot even get milk and that you have given up your opulent life to come here and you do not complain, I am very much indebted to all of you." Bhavananda. The marble workers lived in some chatai houses right near the construction site. There was a hand pump just outside the building, and that's where we took our bath and where the workers got the water for the cement. Some distance off were two toilets, one for the men and one for the women. It was just two holes in the ground, and each hole surrounded by a chatai wall. The storms and the rain would come, and we would have to sludge through the mud in the fields to go to the toilets. There were snakes all over the place. It was wild. It was a construction site. No one lives on a construction site, but we did. Srila Prabhupada made us move in there. It was good for us. No bathrooms, nothing. Just open floors with concrete. Although the devotees endured the austerities of living at the Mayapur Center construction site, they sometimes felt it was too difficult. But Srila Prabhupada never considered it difficult, and he would encourage the devotees. "Mayapur is so wonderful. You can live on the air and water alone. Bhavananda. We were able to face up, we were able to face up to so many difficulties because we just took it as our order from Srila Prabhupada. There was no conception of ever leaving. What else would I do? This was my order. Take Mayapur. I am giving you Mayapur. Take it, develop it, and enjoy it. There was no question in our minds of going anywhere else. The surrounding grounds were rice fields, and to get to the temple building from the entrance of the property, a distance of more than 200 yards, devotees would have to walk on paths made by ridges of earth that separated one rice field from another. The kitchen, which was made of tarpaulin and bamboo, was located near the entrance to the property. The devotees had to live without electricity much of the time, since the power supply was often cut off. They would use kerosene lamps at night, and Prabhupada said the lamps should be taken apart every day, the wicks trimmed, and the glass washed. In the future, he said, you should grow castor plants and crush the seeds and take the oil for burning. Prabhupada told the devotees how to build simple dwellings. He also wanted them to build a wall with a gate along the front of the property. They should build small rooms, hutments he called them, against the wall. Devotees could stay in these simple cottages. They should plant coconut and banana trees. Raising the money, buying the land, arranging for workers and materials, it had been an arduous struggle, replete with bureaucratic delays, forms, fees, supply shortages, and the like. Prabhupada would not tolerate any carelessness or waste. The building, which was turning out to be so artistic, substantial, and useful, was actually a gift from Lord Sri Krishna. So to live here in Krishna's building was to reciprocate lovingly with the Lord. The devotees should think of serving Krishna, not of becoming comfortable and forgetting the purpose of both the building and of life. The slamming of doors, although seemingly a minor fault, greatly disturbed Srila Prabhupada. It symptomized carelessness and misuse, and Prabhupada said the sound cracked his heart. One time Prabhupada came out of his room and called out, "Who is that slamming the doors? No one knows from where this building has come. You take it for granted that it is here, but no one cares." More often, however, Srila Prabhupada displayed a rose-like softness, an intimate, informal, and affectionate nature. The holy dham of Mayapur was the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. So the devotees there were living with Prabhupada in the spiritual world. More than most any other place in the world, the devotees living in Mayapur knew they could walk into Prabhupada's room and see him. He sometimes even walked into their rooms. While they were working, reading, or talking, he might suddenly walk in and speak with them, asking how they felt and how they were adjusting to living in India. "It is difficult living here?" he would ask. "I think India is too hot. What do you think?" Even with the building incomplete, many guests were coming, especially to talk with Prabhupada, who patiently spent many hours each day speaking about Krishna consciousness with guests who came to inquire about his movement or who came only to talk about themselves and their own philosophy. Sometimes he would remark that an individual had wasted his time, but he never stopped anyone from seeing him. One wealthy Hindu man, Mr. Brijratan Mohatta, and his wife, a daughter of a multi-millionaire, R.D. Birla, visited Prabhupada from Calcutta. Srila Prabhupada took care in properly hosting his guests, and he personally reviewed the menu and briefed his disciples on serving Mr. Mohatta and his wife. Offering prasadam was an important part of the Vaishnava's etiquette, and Srila Prabhupada always stressed that the devotees immediately offer prasadam to visitors. "You should always be able to offer water, hot puris, and eggplant bhaji, fried eggplant, and sweets," Prabhupada said. Even when guests appeared shy, Prabhupada would insist that they take a full meal. Mrs. Mohatta, even though a member of one of the wealthiest families in India, was satisfied with the simple hospitality Srila Prabhupada and his disciples offered. The room she and her husband stayed in was unfinished. The slate floors hadn't been polished, and construction work was going on all around, and the devotees could only offer them a mattress on the floor with a pillow. Yet they appeared to be quite satisfied and appreciative. Bhavananda. Srila Prabhupada introduced us to many of the details of Indian culture at Mayapur. He had us put down mattresses covered with sheets in his room. In 1970, in Los Angeles, he had asked me to sew sheets together to make a covering for the rug in his room, and then he had gotten down on his hands and knees right next to me, and we had smoothed out the wrinkles in the sheet. So he had us do that same thing in Mayapur, where we put mattresses from one end of the room to the other with bolster pillows against the wall. "Now you have white sheet covers," he said, "and you change these every day." When Bengali gentlemen visited Srila Prabhupada in his room, they would sit on these mattresses around the edge of the room, their backs against the bolster pillows. It was very aristocratic. The whole mood was that he was the Mahant, the master of the house, the Acharya, but also the aristocratic Bengali gentlemen saw that he was re-establishing the old aristocratic mood from the very from the early 1900s or 1920s. It was from Prabhupada's old days with the Malik family, and it was rapidly dwindling. At that time, you couldn't find a semblance of of the old culture anywhere because all those families had become degraded and their wealth gone. When the evening's multitude of varieties of insects gathered around Prabhupada's light, he would sometimes comment on how they were such wonderful creations of God. This little insect, he said one evening, is both pilot and flying machine in one. Here there are hundreds of insects flying together, and yet there are no collisions. That is God's arrangement. They never crash because the super soul is present, one in every heart. Let the material scientists manufacture such a wonderful machine with a built in pilot that will not crash. When one man flies and then there are two planes, they have to be very careful. Hmm. Okay, we'll pause here. Hare Krishna. Very carefully we should read this, and very carefully we should apply these learning, these teachings in our lives. Okay, anybody would like to share anything that you loved from today's reading? Meenu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The whole experience of watching the two biggest temples, the two most important temples in Mumbai and in Mayapur, coming up from ground up, and the struggles and battles of all the devotees, especially international devotees who were not used to the Indian atmosphere or customs. Just to read about that is truly inspiring. I mean, we are nothing. We have not. We have a long, long, long way to go. So I'm just taking that inspiration that no matter what comes, we have to do what needs to be done, and we should not be dwindled by others like Mrs. N or Mr. N. You know, there are still Mr. and Mrs. N will come in our lives who will try to demotivate us. We just have to stick to our guns and let the temple be built. That's what I take from today. Thank you.
Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. Yes. Yeah, demons will always come in different forms. Even when the Lord was there, yesterday we were reading, Prabhupada says they came, and now they are coming in this form of lawyers and businessmen and Mr. Mrs. N, etc., municipality ward, etc. So, but yes, in a way, we take inspiration from these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, how they stuck to the gun, like you said, stuck to Srila Prabhupada, right? I mean, who can imagine, like, again, what all they left behind in their lives, in their materially wealthy and opulent families back home in America, and walking through rice fields, slushy fields. If somebody has to tell us to go through like that today, we are coming from India, and we feel, oh, the road is so bad or whatever, and we don't want to walk without high boots or something like that. But imagine these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, what all they went through. And that is because truly, sincerely, they were dedicated to Prabhupada from the core of their heart. Right? They treated him as their spiritual father, loving father, who would chastise them, sometimes be angry and mad at them, correcting them, slamming these doors. You remember even he was in the hospital in New York, that nurse would slam the door, and he'd say it was like he would feel so, it'd feel like a crush on his heart, and they would still do that, right? So the same thing, he still says the same thing, yeah. And he was correcting them, don't waste energy, everything is Lord's energy, right? Why is the fan running inside, light running inside, right? So all those small things, he was correcting them, chastising them, right? But it's not like they left him and they went away. Oh, my father's shouting at me, or angry at me. No, they stuck to him throughout. And those who stuck to him, we see where they are today because of their selfless dedication to their spiritual father. So like that, yeah, like you said, we also have to stick to, that is the only thing. We have to hold on to the stick of Prabhupada, because that stick also that he was saying, there are two sticks in Dallas, he said, right? One to hit the hand, one to hit the head. But the stick is very merciful. So we have to hold on to the stick.
And to me, what it sounds like, uh, like the shloka 4.34, Tadvidi Pranipratena Pariprashnena Sevaya. These are the disciples who have fully and wholeheartedly surrendered to the vision of their spiritual master. They may not know the processes, but they have actually put in the whole their bhav and their mood, and the complete surrenderness is what I think is bhakti is all about. They may not know how to worship the deity properly yet, they may not know, but the fact that they were there and they went through all the austerities, is that's what I call real bhakti. So that's what I think. But there are many more examples, I'm sure, there to follow. So
Because we take inspiration from everybody, all the disciples, and we are nobody, like you said. And of course, they are fully dedicated, so they are in the brahmachari ashram, right? Most of them who are with Prabhupada, brahmacharis and sannyasis, whereas most of us here on this call are in the grihastha ashram. So things may seem little different for us, right? We cannot completely imitate, right? But we can take inspiration and apply the teachings in our own lives, in our own ways, following maybe the grihasthas, and even taking instructions from our sannyasi gurus and who tell us how to. Yeah, Brajvasis they were not grihasthas, or sorry, they were not brahmacharis or sannyasis, right? They were all grihasthas. But nobody is more steeped in surrender and dedication to Lord than the Brajvasis, who are completely immersed and absorbed in the thought of Lord 24/7, right? So, like that example comes to mind that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, where he tells our Guru Maharaj that I will take initiation from one who is 24 hours absorbed in the service of the Lord, in the thoughts of the Lord, right? So not even 1 second, not even 1 second. So when he saw Gaur Kishoredas Babaji Maharaj was 24/7 absorbed, he said, yes, he's my spiritual master. If he was not absorbed even for 1 second, I would not. So like that, Brajavasis, pure devotees of the Lord, are fully absorbed, even though they may be externally appearing to be doing mundane material things, but internally they're absorbed. Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything that you liked from today's reading? Shilpa Mataji, you've been joining regularly. Anything from your side? No. All right. Okay. If anything else, yes. Go ahead. Anybody else would say something?
Just Prabhuji, Shilpa here. Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Just my idea about this Prabhupada Lilamrit is, how do we apply it? Like the situations we don't encounter in our with anyone, such situations. So how do we see this? This was one of my questions. So I don't know how other devotees or you might be seeing. So can you please speak on that?
Yeah, a simple thing, Mataji. Of course, Prabhupada told us how to perform sadhana bhakti. So we follow his instructions. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right? We do Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi. He told us how to worship the deities, right, in our own humble way. And Krishna doesn't want opulent worship, right? Of course, we have the means and we do it. But at our homes, we worship with love. Love is what the bhav is, what the Lord is looking for. That's what Prabhupada taught us. So again, whatever Prabhupada has taught us, we follow, the Bhagavad Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi in terms of worshipping, in terms of following the practices of devotional life. And then these practical day-to-day things that we are reading here, like what we read today, we should not waste Krishna's energy. We should see the Lord in everything and anything. Here Prabhupada is seeing insects also. Prabhupada is seeing Paramatma in them, right? And they're saying how wonderful this creation of the nature is. They don't crash into each other, right? Because Paramatma is there. Now, that vision, at least certainly I will not have, right? So, but when we read these pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, it inspires us to see the energy of the Lord, to see the Lord everywhere around us, right? At least we should make that endeavor, that attempt to see the Lord through the nature, through the beautiful sky, beautiful rain, rain clouds, ocean, nature. When we go for nature walk, so slowly, when we practice, we will start seeing, and eventually start seeing the presence of Lord in every human being that comes in our life, every interaction that we have, with every individual. Um, start seeing that. We'll start seeing the Paramatma in their heart, that the Lord is orchestrating this particular interaction for the day. Why this person came in my life. What is Krishna trying to teach
Yes.
me through this situation? So like that.
Yes, Guruji. Actually, I have read this twice, this Prabhupada Lilamrit, and then when you read this, eventually I was wondering. A question came to me that how practical it is in terms of today's situation, because we are not encountering certain situations like I'm not building temple, then I don't face all this situation, I don't deal with this people like Mr. N and all. So I'm sharing the things that I was thinking one day. So this occurred to me, and then the other part, I accept that there are many important things that bring light. And as you said today, you have to see Super Soul, Paramatma in everything, in Krishna in every living being, and all that. So yes, that is a real good point. And it didn't occur to me like that. I was thinking only in terms of temple construction, about Lilamrit.
Yeah, and even the temple construction, we are able to correlate. This is happening very much in our center also. We are going through a lot of legal struggles right now to build our temple. So practically, yeah, we see kind of reciprocation of Prabhupada, and we can actually correlate this to what is happening in our lives in Cincinnati also. It's kind of like we had to move from our center in Mason to the Liberty Township, right? So we are also going through practical challenges right now. But with the sincerity, with enthusiasm of all the devotees, we are continuing our weekly programs. But behind the scenes, we are also going through challenges. So, so it is there in our lives also. Yes. But hopefully, with mercy, like I said, with mercy of the Acharyas and mercy of the Lord,
Yeah,
we will prevail one day.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Mataji.
much, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.